And away we go. It is another BCJ podcast brought to you by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com. As always, make sure you're stopping by the Holy Grail whenever you're in and around downtown. Get yourself some food. Have a nice cold beverage on a warm day in Cincinnati, and it'll make your life better. I promise. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
How you doing?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good today because the Mexican pizza is back at Taco Bell, and we celebrated that tonight. And a little nostalgic trip down memory lane, and it did not disappoint.
I tried to get one. I think I went to Taco Bell Monday, and they didn't have it at my Taco Bell yet.
Today was the first day.
Today was the first day. Kelly will be happy to know that. Kelly
you could
loves
get it
Mexican
last
pizzas.
week through DoorDash, but
Gotcha.
Today was the first day you could actually get it in one of the restaurants.
She'll be very happy to hear that. We'll have to get some Taco Bell at some point in time here soon.
Delightful.
She's a big Mexican pizza fan. I just go either traditional tacos or I like the steak quesadilla.
Yeah, I'm a cheesy gordita crunch guy.
Yeah, I don't mind a good cheesy gordita crunch from time to time. I'm not gonna lie. That's like my change up when I'm ready to throw a change up. Good cheesy gordita crunch. All right, Dave. Well, we it's been fairly quiet on the UC front, but we have a lot to talk about in the college sports world.
It just means more through everybody. Christmas in May present today.
Well, we do have a couple other things to get to, such as the scholarships or the recruiting number of 25 being eliminated for the next 2 years, and conference championship games officially now optional. We will get to all that stuff here in a little bit. But last night, good old Nick Saban decided at an event, I guess, promoting the World Games in Birmingham.
Yeah,
he's drumming up some interest for the World Games in Birmingham.
Just decided to go on a tangent about NIL.
It just chose violence, just chose violence and pointing fingers. Which this is my favorite part, Dave, because you'll be familiar with this. Up until like 20 years ago, SEC coaches just loved doing this and like trying to like tell on each other, and like it was a constant wheel of probation around the SEC because they ratted on each other.
Roy Kramer was the commissioner before Mike Slive, and at one point in time, I don't know what year it was. He was the commissioner when the SEC championship started in 1992, so it was sometime before that.
Right.
11 of the 12 teams were either on probation or in the process of becoming on probation. Their cases were still being decided because that's right. All the coaches did was just rat each other out for cheating. And then Mike Slive came in and said, okay, enough of that. We're going to keep everything in-house, and even if you hate each other's guts and you think someone's cheating, we're going to handle that behind closed doors and not do it like Nick did last night and Jimbo. Holy shit! Today, just amazing. So I mean, there's so many things that I loved about it. That we'll obviously get into, but.
Jimbo is obviously very reserved in his comments about Nick Saban. Saban has since apologized and basically backtracked and said, I shouldn't have pointed anybody out specifically. What they're doing is legal. Well, I just don't like it.
That's basically the biggest thing. Like, to say that, you better have some damn receipts.
Right.
Like, you can't just come out and be like, we had the number 2 recruiting class, and it's because Texas A&M paid all their
bought every player. Direct quote, every player.
you could do some, insinuating that, wow, they got a 5-star from Philly and they got a 5-star from over here and a 5, like that's not really typical A&M recruiting territory, but you can't say that. You can't just say like the only reason we didn't have the number 1 recruiting class was because they bought their players.
And then taking a side swipe at Prime.
Oh
at
yeah,
Deion Sanders.
I mean, what's the next Aflac commercial going to be?
Right. I'm trying to let me see this. This Deion quote was fantastic.
$1 million for Travis Hunter. You didn't say
but
Travis Hunter. Which there was rumors that, see, that's the thing that I think Nick got himself. I don't want to say he doesn't get it, but he might be in that situation where he doesn't need to play the game because they're Alabama and he's won 7 national championships. But like Deion Sanders isn't giving Travis Hunter money. Jackson State isn't giving Travis Hunter money. Like Jimbo Fisher's not giving these players money. Texas A&M football is not giving them money. So like you might not like it. I don't like it. Like it's part of the whole NIL thing that I don't like. But like you can't say they bought their players. That's not like Texas A&M didn't. If you just said the boosters, the collective group of boosters bought their players, that's a little harder to refute, but that's not what he said.
So here you go. Deion, when talking about this whole situation, I don't even wear a watch and I know what time it is. They forget. I know who's been bringing the bag and dropping it off. I know this stuff. I'm not the one you want to play with when it comes to all this stuff.
Was that Deion? He finally said something?
Yeah, Deion. Well, and Deion basically was, because Saban was like, I tried to call. And Deion's like, oh, don't make comments in public and then try to come talk to me in private.
Jimbo said the same thing. Like, I guess Saban called him this morning and he was like, yeah, we're done. I'm not.
Nah, bro.
No, I'm not talking to him.
Yeah.
But like Jimbo had so many great just the one about my daddy taught me not to cheat and lie, and if you cheated or lied, you got slapped, and someone needs to slap Nick Saban. Like a 56-year-old man just said that someone needs to slap a 70-year-old man. And like Jimbo, like he's one of the fastest talkers like ever.
Yeah.
So he just got rolling, and it was just like like talking about the God, and I worked with him, and I know like it. I mean, there's so many just like ridiculous things, but but it's just like, all right, boys, thank you.
How about Saban? Just the righteous indignation to imply that they've never done anything illicit in landing a recruit.
I mean,
you're at Alabama. Come on, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you win and you put guys in the NFL, but like don't make it out to be like, this is, Navy football or Northwestern, like super, super high standards, and come on.
How much funny. Of this is Nick Saban signaling his boosters the way that he signals his boosters that this is kind of going to be the new normal, and we're going to have to.
Well, that's the thing.
Figure it out.
Saban's never saying this stuff because he thinks it should go away. Like he had a great quote, around 2012 where it was, something to the effect of like, this, I don't know what the sport's coming to with the way these offenses are and they're going too fast and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a threat of like, we need to do something to stop it. It was a threat of, okay, I'll start doing it too. And we've seen what his offenses have become. And so this isn't a like, this should go away. It's okay, well, this is how it's going to be. We can do this, and we can do this just as good as anybody else.
I think the problem for me is if he would have just kept it simple, the point was very valid. That
Yeah,
there's
it's the same stuff we've talked about. Like,
yeah,
just say you don't like the idea of a collective giving money to a player that has not even stepped foot on a college campus yet, and that because like and that being a factor, like because of course it's going to be a factor. It would be a factor for any college student, regardless of if they were an athlete or not. But like, just say you don't like that part. You don't have to single out a school. You don't have to say people are buying players. You could be the voice that actually might get some of this stuff changed a little bit if you just said like this stuff should not be there for players that have not even enrolled in universities yet because they're not. This money is not name, image, and likeness money. They have no worth to their name, image, and likeness as a 4-star kid coming out of Humble, Texas, or whatever. Like,
right.
They have to first prove that they can be a college athlete, and then if some car dealership wants to give them a car because they feel that there's value there, then sure. But like, we're just pooling money together to give kids to try to incentivize them to pick a school. He could have very easily said that, and it wouldn't have singled out any university. I'm sure tons of people would have agreed with him.
Yeah, I mean, he actually hit on it if you look at some of the stuff he was like actually talking about outside of, what got the media play when he said, there's agents now calling these collectives and saying $100,000 you can get my kid. Like that's not what this was supposed to be.
No. But I mean, that's the NCAA's fault for not,
of course,
for fighting it so hard and not just saying like, okay, we'll allow it, but here's what we're going to allow.
Right.
Like, yes, you can do this, but it's only for college athletes, or you can do this, but it's this is how it's going to be set up. They just stonewalled it so long that they finally lost in court, which then meant that anything was okay, and now they're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube once they've realized that, like, okay, the greater purpose of this is good, but the structure of it is bad.
And now you've got two of the most prominent coaches in the country going at each other's necks in the media, wide open for everybody to see, which, I mean, I think it's great for content. It's awesome for us.
I'm seriously debating figuring out a way to go to the game. October 8th in Tuscaloosa. I mean, talk about just a crowd that will be in an absolute uproar.
Oh, it's going to be,
and they should both be really good. I mean, I don't know their schedules, but I would think there's a fairly good chance that they're both undefeated going into that game. Like,
right, or at most one loss, you would think.
Like, yeah, I mean, I just love it. It was so crazy that Lane Kiffin said, like, I'm actually speechless.
Right. And you gotta love Lane. Just loves jumping in on top of stuff. Now.
Me and all my buddies were just waiting for him to just like get in on it. And he just he's like, I can't even get in on this. Like Bruce Feldman had a quote from some other SEC, I don't know if it's coach or person or something, that basically said like, usually this stuff gets kept behind closed doors, but these two guys basically just called each other's wives fat in public.
What's behind Jimbo hating him so much? Like,
there was something there because
this is obviously something that's been brewing.
Yeah, because so when he worked for him for 4 years at LSU, won the national championship. Saban went to the Dolphins. According to Jimbo, he had an opportunity to go. He did not go. Saban comes back to college. He has an opportunity to get on Saban's staff. He chooses to go to Florida State and ride out the Bobby Bowden end of Bobby Bowden's tenure to become coach in waiting and then head coach. So like, there's clearly, I mean, he called him a narcissist. Like,
yeah, totally. He said he had a God complex.
he's there's something there. Now, will he actually talk to the NCAA about it? Well, I doubt it. But it's just there's so many angles to it. Like, so with what Saban said specifically about A&M, like, does the NCAA go to the A&M players and say, "Here's the deal, like, if you don't talk to us, like, we're going to make you ineligible,
right?
And then if you do talk to us and tell us what happened, we'll let you transfer wherever you want with no penalty."
But the thing is, if it's through a collective and it's through NIL, it's fine.
Well, but that's the thing is, like, but is it? Or did they just get, does someone just say, like, yeah, they just gave my dad $250,000?
I can't imagine they're that dumb in how they're doing it.
I mean, all this stuff came together awfully fast for a 2022 recruiting class to get 9 5-stars, several of which had no ties to Texas A&M or the state of Texas.
It's the top recruiting class in the history of college football.
For them to just all of a sudden know all the ins and outs of how this is going to work without any of this coming back and catching us in the ass. Like, maybe it does. I don't know. And does the NCAA do that? I don't know. I mean, who knows? But, like, that is something that I think they could do if they really wanted to, like, make an example out of this whole sham of the collective and it not really being NIL. They could do that. Because they're in school, like, they're NCAA athletes, so they actually have to talk. Unlike when they've gone, like, tried to get information from athletes that aren't there anymore, that they can just be like, you have no say over anything that I do. Like, I don't have to talk to you. I guess they don't have to talk, but they can then make them ineligible while they investigate. Like, you're ineligible while we do an investigation.
I guess, but boy, are they really going to try to fight this fight?
Oh, I don't think they would. I just think it's like, I think Jimbo got his feelings hurt and then started talking when he probably shouldn't have said anything, because, like, do you want to open that door now?
Well, but he didn't go as far as to say there weren't NIL monies that went to the kids. He said
we didn't break any rules. We didn't pay, like, we've never cheated. Like, yes, he didn't, he didn't deny that there were these. I mean, he didn't say, like, there's no collective, we didn't give any of these guys anything type of thing. He didn't, and as far as I know, he didn't say that. But you just,
he said everything but that.
If you want to have a rebuttal, like, you do leave yourself open to, okay, like, let's find out if what Nick Saban said is true. And let's find out if what you're saying about him is true. Like, no, I don't think that's going to happen, because the NCAA task force or whatever investigative group is, basically me, you, and Aaron in size and scope. Like, do they really want to do this? But it's it's an option.
Oh, anything's an option, right?
Yeah, it's not like out. But I'm saying, like, it's not outside of their means to try that.
Yeah, I just think, boy, if you're the NCAA right now, how weary are you of taking anything to court?
Oh, I wouldn't.
Because you got your ass kicked.
Well, I wouldn't do it just because, like, there's already chatter when, Ohio State's AD basically talking about, like, a legit breakaway from the NCAA.
That's never going to happen. But
for Power 5 or FBS as a whole or whatever. I mean, that's the thing, is, like, there's always that talk, and maybe it will happen at some point, but, like, if you do that, then you have to appoint someone as the bad guy.
Right. That's why I don't think they'll ever break away.
Right. And why would you want to appoint your own people to police everybody else? Like, have a separate entity do it. Then you can always be mad at them.
Right. You've got your fall guy built in. Like, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but it would be one of the dumb things that these people would do.
Right, like if you put a committee together of people from different leagues to then do enforcement, and then you're like, oh, the committee only gave this SEC team this because this person's on the committee and he's more influential, and they gave this Big 12 team this because they don't have anybody on the committee right now to fight for like you just have the NCAA over there as your whipping boy, and you just don't talk to them. Like whenever these things happen, I'm amazed when teams talk to the NCAA and think that that's going to make things go better for them.
No,
just like don't ever say anything.
Right. Well, and what's the one thing that gets everybody in the most trouble? They talk, then they tell lies,
right?
Then they get caught lying. And then they get double the penalty because they got caught in a lie.
Right.
Silly.
Yeah, like Jim Tressel didn't get fired because some dudes got tattoos and sold memorabilia. Right. He got fired because he lied about it.
Because he knew it, probably encouraged it.
Well, he knew about it and then didn't suspend players, and they played ineligible players that he lied about it. Like same thing with Bruce Pearl at Tennessee. Bruce Pearl didn't get fired because he had a barbecue and Aaron Kraft had his picture taken at his house.
Right.
He got fired because he lied about it, and then they pulled the pictures out in the meeting and said, okay, well, what is this then?
Right. Duh. All right. You got anything more on Saban and Jimbo and Dion and this whole scenario?
I think it gives great cover to if anybody else wants to do some fishy shit in the SEC right now. Like I'm looking for my guys to start buying more players because no one's paying attention to them.
How does Saban not take a shot at a quarterback getting $8 million? Because Tennessee's not relevant right now.
Right. I mean, that's not the only guy they bought either. Like
I know. They're not exactly being coy about it either.
Why would you?
Right.
Like, what is going to, like, nothing's going to happen.
All right. We'll timestamp the Saban Jimbo conversation there with, are you curious to explore what lies beyond standard craft beer? Take a trip to Urban Artifact. They don't make beer. They make fruit tarts. Come see what the world of real fruit has to offer. Swing by Urban Artifacts, Northside Tap Room, mention Bearcat Journal. Get $2 off a flight of 4 tasters. Do you want to go recruiting limits or do you want to go championship games first?
Wherever. You drive the ship.
We talked a little bit about the championship game, so we'll hit that one first. It's already in act, right? Like the Pac-12 is gotten rid of them.
They came out like an hour
instantly
later and said we're going to have the two teams with the highest, conference winning percentages play.
The ACC is next, right? Like
the ACC seems for as public as anybody else. The ACC and I think the SEC, with 16 teams, the SEC almost has to go to pods. Like the fucking divisions just doesn't work, and I don't know if the non-divisions actually makes it any better. Because they're still only going to do 8 conference games. Like they're not going to go to 9.
Yeah, so they got to get to 6 wins.
So so if they only go 8 conference games, and you just don't have divisions, like you're still only playing that team that there's somebody that you're not going to play at their place every 8 years. So you go to pods, and you cycle through them faster that way.
There's been talk about pods forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
like once they went to 16, there's been talk about that. They just
didn't. I mean, it's basically, it's funny how they call it pods, but it's basically
small divisions.
It's the AFC. It's the AFC NFC with the AFC North and East and South and Right. It's the same thing.
Does the Big Ten like the Big Ten East winner getting to beat up on the Big Ten West in the Big Ten title game?
The Big Ten doesn't have any idea how to do this. I've read things that they're like thinking about just redoing the divisions, which makes no sense either. Like,
why?
They've already done that once. They've already proven that they don't know how to put divisions together to begin with.
Leaders and legends?
Yeah, and then so now you're like, you have all these teams that are good right now in one division, but like, there's no guarantee that I mean, outside of I think Ohio State, but like, there's no guarantee that that's just always going to be like that.
It's usually going to be like that.
No, but I mean like the other teams.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's usually going to be like that. Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State are generally
I'm anti-division. I'm anti-division, period. So like,
yeah,
I don't understand why they would not just scrap them, but you know, they're smarter than everybody else anyway. So you know,
just ask them; they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Big 12. What read? I know it's kind of hard to really.
There really isn't one. Like, there's just not with Bob Bowlesby set to retire, and we're still not to the official like when the 4 teams are coming in. We're all working under the assumption that Texas and Oklahoma are going to stay for the duration of their TV contract. Like, I have not seen anything that really gives me an answer one way or the other. To say, I think that they'll do this, I think they'll do that. Like, I think it certainly makes the most sense to not do it. Again, I'm not into divisions.
Right.
So, you know, they don't have divisions now, do they?
The Big 12?
Yeah, do they? I don't even know. I should probably know that.
No, but they were discussing them because remember they were round robin.
Right, and then 12 teams, 9 games.
No, they were 10 teams, 9 games.
10 teams, 9 games, yeah.
That's round robin where everybody plays everybody. So no, they didn't have divisions, but then the conversation was they were talking about divisions.
Right, they were going to go down to 8, then add the 4 to get to 12, so it would be 6 and 6, and they were talking.
Well, they're probably going to have to go up to 14 for a year or two,
at least.
Yeah,
I mean, because you're going to have BYU next year.
BYU, UC, UCF, and Houston next year.
Then the next year after. No, BYU's in
2023, same as when UC and
I thought they were in.
Teams.
I thought they were in. They could be in now.
They could have been in now, but I think their scheduling stuff prevented.
They couldn't get out of it.
Yeah, they're not going to be in for 2022. And I don't know that the Big 12 really wanted to kind of rework the schedule for
a year later.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah, so
they're not in.
14 teams. Yeah, I mean, I would hope that it's not divisions.
The nice part is, I mean, maybe even if it is, it's for 2 years until Texas and Oklahoma leave.
You don't really have to scrap it if you put them in opposite divisions, so that they could still play.
Yeah.
Then, when they leave, you could keep the divisions the way they are.
I think with 14 divisions make a lot more sense than with 12.
Yeah, I mean, because you would have your 6 games in your own division.
The bigger you get, the more you need some classification to how you're scheduling, right?
Well,
how your scheduling matrix is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, you have 14 teams, you have 7 in each division. You obviously don't play yourself, so you play your own 6 games and then 3 in the other. I don't know. It's we'll have a guest next week that might be able to shed some some light on that.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Because I mean, I've read a bunch about it. I've looked up a bunch. I mean, I just
There's
think
just
the
not
feeling,
really anything substantial that I've seen that says that they're leaning one way or the other.
right?
And I've seen things about the ACC. I've seen conversations about the SEC. Like, just haven't seen anything. Obviously, the Pac-12 has already said something. So
I think it's interesting that I mean, there's a good chance that they just haven't even gotten to that point, right? Like, there's so many other things the Big 12 is trying to sort out right now that maybe they don't even want to get to that until they've got the other stuff figured out.
yeah, it might be just waiting till the AAC stuff is
right. That's what I mean.
Finalized, and then you at least know exactly what. I mean, it's kind of pointless to put out even to have a discussion about it without knowing like when we would actually this would go into effect.
How much do you think these you have 3 opponents you play every year and 5 or 6 rotating, like how much do you think that is potentially the wave of the future, or has that just been a talking point like as all this stuff is coming out?
I mean, what do you mean by like wave of the future, like as opposed
well,
to
if conferences do start eliminating conference like divisions,
yeah,
how much do you think that's the path that they're going to take, where you have these, like scheduled blocks of this team plays these 3 teams every year, and then we rotate the other ones?
Yeah, I mean, I think you still have to, because you still have to you have to build up rivalries, and you have existing rivalries. Like you're not gonna go to no divisions and just have like a true like rotation where Ohio State and Michigan don't play every year.
Right.
Or like Alabama and Auburn don't play every year because they just rotate through each other. Like that doesn't serve any purpose.
Yeah, but at that point you have one rivalry game and then the rest can rotate.
Nah, I mean, I guess maybe, but I think it serves the collective group better to build in more interesting games so that you don't get a schedule, where you're, playing a bunch of teams that you don't have any history with whatsoever, especially like in the Big 12's case.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're Ohio State, do you really want to hypothetically have their 3 regular games would be Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State, right?
No, I mean, well, I think you change that.
Well, you can't set 3 teams that you play every year and then change it.
No, I mean, you don't have those be their 3 games.
But those are their 3 games every, like.
Well, that's because there was division. So now maybe it's Michigan, Penn State, and Minnesota or something. Like, you just, and it's Michigan. Michigan plays Michigan State, and Penn State and Nebraska or something. Like, the whole, like, I guess the whole traditional rivalries because of divisions does have to go away a little bit, because you can't make those teams, like, that's inequitable.
Right. Ohio State has to play the 3 hardest games in the conference every year.
And the other teams have to play,
right.
yeah,
Northwestern, Rutgers.
It's not fair to Ohio State to have to play
Maryland.
And it's also not fair to, it's not fair to make Ohio State play those 3 games, and it's also not fair because then that means somebody else is, like you said, is playing Rutgers, Minnesota, and Purdue. You kind of have to redo all of it to make it as equitable as you can for everybody, knowing that, yes, some teams are going to have to play predominantly better programs historically, but you also hope that there's, other teams that jump up and become more of a power, and it's not this, the same teams that we've had in certain leagues for a long, long time. I mean, it feels like it in the SEC, but when I was going to school and growing up, which is not that long ago, Alabama wasn't good. Tennessee beat them 10 years in a row. Georgia, the big rivalry in the SEC was Tennessee and Florida.
Right.
So, you hope that you have teams that can take advantage of name, image, and likeness, can take advantage of all of this TV money. And yes, it's obviously going to still help the top teams, but you would think eventually all these dollars do something for the middle of the pack, which in a lot of these conferences, for some reason, it hasn't. I don't know if it's because the top teams have such a grip on.
Well, what's going to happen is back to the NIL briefly, is you're going to have the Tennessees of the world paying for the tier of players under the elite tier, and nothing's essentially the rosters are going to stay the same, and they're just going to be paying more money for the next tier of recruit.
Or they pay more money to get the better kids.
Maybe. We'll see.
Jason asked, would you rather 2 or 3 permanent rivals when UC joins the Big 12? I would go with 3 because I would like to play West Virginia and UCF, and then I would like to play a historical Big 12 opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably why I settle with 3, just because I would guess that the 2, if it's 2, it would be West Virginia and Central Florida. Uh-oh, you're going back to the dark. That freaks a couple people out. They don't know what's going to jump out from behind you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I would prefer 3. I do think it would be interesting with 2. You would get 7 games. So in a 2-year span, you're going to get the rest of the Big 12.
Right.
Every other year. Essentially.
And basically, you're going to have to play somebody you're playing pretty much every year.
Well, yeah. Just that's even in a rotation, you're still going to end up, unless they find some matrix that allows it to, they pre-schedule it 10 years out.
You also do what? You do 3 because if you only do 2, those are going to be home and road.
Yeah.
And then you have 7 games. I think.
Well, at 9 games, there's only 2 teams you don't play every year anyway.
Right. I just like the 3 because I want to play a Baylor or an Oklahoma State or whoever it might be. I want to build. That was the thing that was so terrible about the AAC is there were just no rivalries. So we obviously have a rivalry with UCF. We have an old, I guess you could call it. Right. I guess you could call it a rivalry with West Virginia. I mean, it's been a while, so I don't know.
That'll kick back up quickly.
Right, but I mean, I'm not sure I would go to the point of saying it's a rivalry like a Louisville was.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say and here's what'll be interesting. The reason the West Virginia rivalry took off was because they were kind of the big dogs of the Big East, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you had Pat White, you had Steve Slayton, you had Noel Devine. I mean, they were the one year they would have gone to the national championship if Pitt didn't upset them, at the end of the year. So yeah, it popped up because they were really good, and then we got good and beat them, but they also kicked our ass for the first several years that we joined the Big East. So, but I just would like to build something. The whole point of going to the Big 12 is to build on the tradition and all of that the conference has. I don't know if you get that same feeling if you're just playing UCF and West Virginia every year. as your quote unquote rivals.
But you're still going to be playing almost the rest of the
for sure
every year.
But I just like having the idea of like, yeah, we're going to play Oklahoma State every year, or we're going to play Baylor, whoever it is. I just use those two because that's the two that I would want to play the most. But I'm sure that's also the two that UCF and Houston and BYU want to play the most because they're the two that have the most name recognition, have the most cachet, have the most have been the best teams relatively recently. They're not traditional powers, but over the last 20 years, they've been pretty damn good.
Dave, you look lovely tonight.
I try to do my best for you guys.
Does BYU Stadium sell alcohol? Come on.
Do they even sell regular Coke?
Right. Do they sell anything but water and assorted varieties of naturally flavored water? And by naturally flavored, I mean they're blueberry water.
As beautiful as their campus is, and as beautiful as the stadium setting is, there is a less than 0% chance I will ever go to a game there.
Less than 0.
Oh, no chance.
Caffeine-free RC.
No, the only place that has caffeine-free RC Cola is the Heritage Bank Center.
Yeah.
Who somehow has a deal with Deja Blue Water, RC Cola, 7-Up, which I love 7-Up, but RC Cola, Sunkissed Orange. The Deja Blue Water one is my favorite because, you literally cannot get that anywhere else, I think, in the world except for in that arena.
It's just tap water, right? They have a factory with a tap that just
in the basement, and they're just filling up bottles, taking them out of the trash, and refilling them,
and sending them to the Heritage Bank Center, and that's it.
How bad is for the water to be a brand that is literally not sold anywhere except
anywhere else? Yeah, everybody else is
they talk about the Busch Light or the Natty Light is the crappy Bud Light or whatever. So what is the crappy water? Where's that coming? But where's that coming from?
I told you it's coming from a tap, in a factory somewhere.
No, I mean it's in the basement of the Heritage Bank Center. They just take out the trash, rinse out the bottles, and put new Deja Blue in. And then you can buy the caps that are unbroken on Amazon, and they just pop them on there.
Yeah.
Oh, Aquafina is very crappy. So Deja Blue is even worse. So.
Great. Let's get to the other rule change that came through yesterday. This is a 2-year deal. Filtered
it's
Ohio
not
River
going to happen.
Yeah.
So it goes away after 2 years.
It'll be reevaluated at 2 years. So basically, they're not sure that this is the answer. I think is what we're finding out.
Oh, I think it's definitely the answer.
We'll see. I don't know that it's. I think it's on the right path to the answer, but I don't know that it's specifically the answer. Because I think this opens back up the days of Tennessee signing 42 kids in a recruiting class.
That's fine if you can keep it under the 85.
How do you do that?
Well, I mean, Kansas's roster
at the point of signing. How do you do that?
Kansas's roster the last few years could have used this rule. That's what it's there for.
I agree that there are people that could have used this rule and will use it properly. But what did we just find out about NIL?
You'll get a bunch of runoffs.
Right. And those kids could be other places doing great things.
Which is fine.
They could have been at other places doing great things out of high school, but they jumped into, here's the thing. And this is what's going to be interesting to me. And we talked about this a little bit last night on the nightcap. How far do schools really want to go anymore in signing a large number of high school kids, right?
Well, that's the thing is how far do they want to go? And if you're a really good, successful, stable program, this doesn't affect you. Like
Not really.
You're never gonna be signing 35 guys.
Yeah, but the average coach stays what, 5 years?
But even if the coaches leave, if like Brian Kelly, we'll just use him as an example. Brian Kelly left Notre Dame. Their shit didn't go to hell in a handbag, and they needed
because
to
they hired Marcus Freeman that had a bond with all those guys.
So take any major program or any successful program for longer than 5 years. Like if Nick Saban retired tomorrow, all their recruits are just going to leave.
It's not the recruits that are the problem. It's the guys on the team. Look at Oklahoma.
Well, that's what I mean. But
they got crushed with transfers.
Okay, so
and they've won consistently for 5-10 years.
Then I'm fine with the rule.
I
don't think there should be
interested to see.
I never understood if you have a high end number that you need to stay under, in this case 85. What does it matter how you get there? Is what I've always thought.
Yeah, I just think I guess the problem is it brings back memories of why the 25 was introduced.
Well, yeah, Houston Nut at Arkansas signed 40 guys 1 year.
Yeah,
it's the Houston Nut rule. I mean, that's what it is. But like, you're not gonna if you're having to do this, it's not because things are going good.
No.
So, I would think it wouldn't be a big deal because you would want things to be going good, and if they're not, you've got bigger issues than having to fill a roster. And then if a new coach comes in or whatever happens, and they shouldn't have one arm tied behind their back because the last guy lit the place on fire, right. And now I can't even compete because I have 40 open spots, but I can only bring in 25 guys, and we've won 3 games in the last 3 years, so who the hell wants to come here? And so then you're handcuffing me even more. I don't think that should be a thing.
I think is I favor more of a keep the 25 as the base, and then you get to go 1 for 1 after that. 1 out, 1 in, like a fucking nightclub.
Yeah.
No,
I get it. I'm just my philosophy, my point of view is I don't really understand. If you have 1 limit, I don't understand why you need a second limit.
Houston Nut at Arkansas.
it didn't do anything. That's the thing. Is
yeah,
there was no tangible gain from that.
Maybe. I mean, were they terrible because of that, or were they terrible because they played in a division with Alabama, Auburn, and LSU?
Or were they terrible because Houston Nut was their coach?
Yeah, that's possible too. I'm not ruling that out.
And that's why they needed to fill 40 spots.
I'm not ruling that out. And that was before the transfer portal.
And before the SEC West got real good.
Right.
It was good, but it wasn't what it is now.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not anti the way that this is going. I just don't know if throwing your hands up and saying you can now sign however many kids you want.
I think it helps programs that are trying to rebuild, that are real bad situations, like Kansas,
right.
like USF. And then I think it won't really matter to the perennial top 25 teams. What it'll do, though, is your middle of the road Power 5 new coach. He's going to run a bunch of dudes off so that he can bring in a shit ton of transfers and his own guys.
Yeah. And
say he's, I'm getting the program the way that I want it, blah, blah, blah. And, so you'll get more runoffs. But, who's run, Luke doesn't run hardly. I mean, if he has run one guy off, we would have to rack our brains to think about it. Guys leave on their own, typically. Guys leave major schools. Guys leave power, schools that are competing for college championships, they're not getting runoffs. Like, they're recruiting so well that it's obvious to the kid that, like, you're not going to play, so you should probably transfer. They're not going to 10 guys after spring practice and being like, pack up your shit and get out of here because I need more dudes. This isn't
be surprised.
Chris Mack is not coaching in college football.
Here you go, Dave. How you like this?
I can't even see it.
You can't see it?
Well, no, because I don't have the thing enlarged so I could see the comments. What is it?
Cole Harding stealing home against UCF tonight.
Are they still beating that ass?
They're up 10-4 in the top of the 8th.
Well, glad UCF could make all that possible.
Yeah, they won the first game, so whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, there's going to be good and bad, just like any rule, and certain coaches are going to figure out a way to make it terrible for their players because that's what these assholes do. But
Fair.
for the most part, I'm fine with it. Like, I think it benefits coaches that need.
I agree. I just think that it's not I think there's a reason they only did 2 years. I think it's not finalized.
It's definitely not like a slam dunk. Oh my God, why haven't we just been doing this the whole time? It's, we're so dumb because we haven't, we got rid of it. But you want to sign 35 dudes? It's probably because you don't have very many good players to begin with. So whatever.
And like we talked about last night, you got an 85-man roster. You really want 40 freshmen?
Yeah, you want 40 freshmen and transfers?
and then you couple that with your redshirt freshmen that didn't play the year before. So now you got 55 guys on your 85-man roster.
Well, and then take it one more year. So then you say you have a big senior class.
Right.
And then you bring in 25 more freshmen. So then you got 20-something redshirt sophomores. You got a bunch of freshmen, redshirt freshmen, transfers, and then you got a bunch of true freshmen.
Yeah.
That's basically your entire roster.
And then 15 other guys between your junior and senior class.
Right. Yeah. So
good luck winning that way.
That's why I think it's not gonna be like it sounds funny and fun to say like, oh, they might sign 40 guys and have the number 7 recruiting class with an 84 rating.
Yeah.
But, I think it's mainly so that if things do go sideways, you don't spend like 2-3 full seasons getting your teeth kicked in.
Sure, because what happens? Then you get fired before you ever even had a chance to get on your feet.
Right.
Because firing in college sports now has become a 2-year deal, which is if you don't do well by the end of year 2, you're in jeopardy of your school just saying, you know what, not working.
Yeah, year 3 is your like make or break season.
Right, and there's dudes getting fired after year 2.
So,
let's change the conversation for a moment. Ryan Day got extended. What's this mean for Fickle? It means Ryan Day got extended. I mean, I don't know.
It means that if some NFL team wants to hire Ryan Day, they're going to have to pay him probably $11 to $12 million a year.
Right.
Because he's now making over $9 million, and I don't see him just leaving for some shitty, for the Bears if it doesn't work in 3 years with their new coach for the same amount of money.
But that's kind of where NFL jobs are headed right now, right? Aren't they getting up near 10, pushing up past 10? And if they're not, they will, because the college standard is 9.5.
That's what I'm saying. Like, would you rather make $9 million at Ohio State or $11 million at the Bears and get fired in 3 years if Justin Fields isn't awesome?
Right.
I mean, it's guaranteed. You can go right back to that's always been my thing. Like, you go to the NFL, you get fired. Guess what? Ryan Day would have a job in one day back in somewhere in college for the same amount of money he was making before.
Right.
It's not like his career's over if he wanted to do that. But sure. I think it just adds a couple more years likely that, not that we were too worried to begin with, but I'm never going to not, give a little smirk when the Ohio State coach is now making, almost $10 million.
Right. And I don't know, I still am not sure if that job opened that they would sprint to Luke Fickell.
Maybe not. I don't know. I just don't even want to. I mean, I don't really want to spend a minute thinking about it. Why bother? It's like wasted time.
That's fair.
Which is that's my whole thing that's just right on line with the whole UCF thing.
Yeah. That's just messing with those idiots.
No, their side of it. It's a lot of time spent on a team that you're not a fan of.
Right.
I just could never imagine putting that much time and effort into.
Yeah, I don't care.
I'm a Bengals fan, the Browns or the Steelers or the Ravens or them for that matter. We don't talk about them unless there's a game going on, and they talk about us all the time.
Yeah, that part is very strange.
I've never tweeted from the Bearcat Journal account anything about Central Florida that does not have to do with an actual sporting event.
Right. Don't care.
I literally could not give a single shit.
Right. Not one. At what they do ever in anything. No. It's just not something that interests me. All right, let's move into one more college football topic I wanted to get ironed out with you. We're at that point in May where things are very slow.
I did see a tweet yesterday, the day before, maybe. The Athlon season preview comes out the beginning of June. Can be purchased online a week early if you're looking for some, real insightful Bearcat write-up. I happen to know someone that contributed, so I think it's pretty accurate.
I think we need to have a contest this year with our members to tell us you got to buy the Athlon preview, you got to buy the Lindy's preview, and then tell us which preview for Cincinnati you think is best.
I'm down.
Aaron, what do you think? Is he there?
It's my first crack at it, so I don't know how I'm feeling.
You're not ready to take a swing at Dave?
Well, how many times has Dave written for the Athlon now?
I think this was the third year.
So there has to be some type of leniency with not having.
I also just saved what I did last year and copy and paste new players and change stats literally it takes me an hour to do the article, the depth chart, the 2 deep, and suggestions for all conference players.
The crazy thing is, I feel like it's already changed with the addition of Noah Potter, and I think I had Kiner on there, but Kiner didn't have a number yet, and I don't know. Things are already changing and evolving since 2 weeks ago.
My guy kept asking me can I get this? I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. There's something that I'm gonna put in it that I can't send it to you now.
Was it Kiner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in case you haven't figured out, Dave wrote the Athlon Cincinnati preview. Aaron wrote the Lindy's Cincinnati preview. So everywhere you go, it's Bearcat Journal content. You can't escape it.
I'll have to get the Lindy's one this year. I don't usually get it because hopefully they send you one because Athlon sends us a copy.
I don't know. We'll find out.
Maybe we'll have a reading. Maybe
a live reading.
A live reading. Aaron will have to read Dave's UC preview, and Dave will have to read Aaron's UC preview.
The only thing I really ever care about is trying to get the depth chart as close as you can for writing something in March for a season in September.
Right.
Because I just don't want some UC fan to open it up and be like, this guy doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about.
Yeah,
you guys talk for a minute. I'll be right back.
I had both quarterbacks on mine because who was it? I don't know who it is.
Yeah, it's there's certain things you just you have no idea, and when you're guessing on certain things because in the spring there's injuries and things like that, so you're trying to project a little bit, and they like mine, they ask you to like highlight returning starters, and we know how it is. Like here, like Deshaun Pace is a starter, but like Ty Van Fossen's basically a starter too, and and stuff like that. So you're just trying to make it so that our fans read it and aren't angry, like they are, like we get it. Other things that are written when they're like, this guy doesn't even play for them anymore. Like, stuff like that. Or,
hopefully there's not too much of that.
Major League. This guy's dead. Then cross him off.
I don't know. It should be interesting to see, considering how long before the season we both wrote our articles, how off they end up being by the time.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's some position battles, but like the offensive line is pretty much set. The wide receivers are pretty, are pretty much.
I don't know. It should be interesting to see what they end up doing with Metz, because who knows if he ends up at guard or tackle.
I think he's definitely a guard. Like I don't see him then going back out to tackle.
I don't know. They have been talking an awful lot about potentially kicking him out there.
Well, I saw that once. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah. Different head coach or different position coach. So maybe.
No, right.
Maybe he.
Cummings wants to see him at tackle. Does that mean he's going to go back to playing tackle?
They also want to see Alec Pierce at linebacker.
That lasted 2 days.
So we'll see.
But no, everybody buy these magazines. I get no cut depending on the sales, but I can only speak for the Athlon one. It's very good. It's very in depth. They do a wonderful job covering the entire sport. So
yeah, I'm just hoping to promote yourself. You're just trying to keep your head above water with your first Lindy's preview.
I mean, I'm excited to have another magazine to put on the, living room table to go along with the, pardon the punctuation, city beats that we had, I think 3 in a row, top 3 for best sports coverage. Somehow, we may have stuffed the ballot. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I don't get into that. I mean, I could win. The way that we vote on things, like when I get people to vote in polls, like I could get Bearcat Journal to win something, but I'd rather just somebody say, like, you're the best. I don't want to have to stuff the ballot to do it.
Sorry, it got our name out there.
No, for that purpose, yeah. Like I if you'd asked me 10 years ago, my answer would have been different. Where we're at now, I'm like, you know how to find us. Come get some. I have no idea what this means. Armageddon or Apollo 13?
Movie. Which is better?
Okay. I don't know. I don't watch movies.
I haven't seen either of those in 15 years, probably.
All right, I'm gonna let you guys go after.
But
we asked you too.
All right. So what is the other football thing you wanted to discuss?
Armageddon.
We're in Rank the Coaches season.
Oh, okay.
Rank the Coaches season. CBS did one, but it was only Power 5.
Okay.
And if you're going to do one that doesn't include Luke Fickell, then what are you doing? I mean, why do you have a list?
They're not a Power 5 league.
I know, but if you're going to rank the best coaches in college football,
well, then you would be doing a different ranking. They chose to do a Power 5 ranking,
which I disagree with.
So if I did a best coaches in the Group of 5 ranking, should I have Nick Saban in it?
No, because I don't think you should do a best coaches in the Group of 5 either.
No,
because the only reason you have to do that is because you create one for the Power 5.
That's not what it.
If I'm looking at a best coaches list, I want a list of the best coaches. Right. I don't want to be these are the best coaches, except for the guys we didn't include.
I'm not saying there should be a qualifier. They just chose to have one.
Okay. And then Big Game Boomer, which everybody knows is,
How does this person Twitter account actually get run?
I don't know.
It's literally could be like a 9-year-old.
No, they've actually got a podcast and stuff.
Oh, okay.
All right, here you go. Top 10. Nick Saban, Kirby Smart. I'm not ready to move Kirby Smart all the way up to number 2.
Why can't I expand my? I can't even see.
I don't know.
There we go. That's better.
Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Dabo, Jimbo Fisher at 4. I don't agree with that. I think Jimbo's a really good coach.
Here's the thing with coaches.
They went 4-4 in the SEC last year.
Coaching list. Is this who I think is actually a great football coach, or who has had the best career as a coach because they've been at certain schools?
I would have it be, who do I think is the best football coach?
Okay, well then, yeah, this is not even close to like what I would. Like Matt Campbell, if we're talking best football coaches, he's way higher than 25th.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm. That's not what I'm getting at here.
No, I know.
Mac Brown, number
at,
5. Come on.
Right, that's a career. That's a career achievement award.
And has his career really been number 5?
I mean, they won a national championship. They're pretty damn good.
They were, but it's not like he's cranking out powerhouse teams.
How many other guys on that list have won a national championship?
That's fair. That's because Saban's won them all. Nobody else has won it. Because Saban's won them all.
I mean, the list is small. You gotta give him credit. It's hard to do. And
number 6, Ryan Day.
But I still wouldn't have number 5.
No. Number 6, Ryan Day. Number 7, Lincoln Riley. Number 8, our old friend. You'd have Lincoln Riley higher?
Yeah, because I think he's a great football coach.
I think he's a great offensive football coach.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does.
Yeah, but now he's a head coach.
Yeah.
So he's responsible for both.
And they went to the playoff almost every year he was at Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Number 9, Luke Fickell. 10, Mike Gundy. 11. Why do people love Mel Tucker?
He was not great at Colorado, and he had one halfway better than decent year at Michigan State. Like, that makes no sense.
Gus Malzahn at 12.
He won a national title.
He did.
Oh no, he didn't actually.
No.
No, he didn't. What's his name?
Right.
Did.
Right.
I can't think of his name right now.
Chizik, right?
Gene Chizik, yeah.
Yeah, Chizik. Harbaugh. I guess 13's probably about right. Michigan's been really good. They've just had an Ohio State problem.
Yeah, I mean they're not bad.
Kyle Whittingham, Mario Cristobal.
Like, I would have both of those guys higher because I just think they're good football coaches. Like what Kyle Whittingham's done at Utah is
remarkable,
super impressive to me.
Chip Kelly, come on.
That's another career, Oregon days.
Dave Aranda, I'd have much higher. Pat Fitzgerald career, Sam Pittman.
I would say Pat Fitzgerald career, but also that's a really hard job.
It is, for sure.
So what is your expectation, and how often are you exceeding expectation, knowing that how hard of a job it is compared to some of the teams that you're competing against in your own conference?
How's that? Does that make it better for everybody?
How is Brent Venables even on this list? He's never been a fucking head coach.
It's a good one, right?
Bill Clark at 46 is disgraceful. The University of Alabama ended their program. That is what happened. The board of trustees ended UAB, and he still brought them back, and they're good. He's a very, very good football coach. Joey McGuire, 47, never been a head coach. I don't understand how you even get on a list of best head coaches.
How's Jeff Traylor at UTSA, 44th?
I mean, he should.
They went from a nothing to somewhat relevant. Is that better, guys? Can you see that better?
How is Scott Satterfield ahead of Jeff Traylor?
Yeah. Scott Satterfield has been awful at Louisville.
And trying to leave with no success.
Mike Leach is 41.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's...
I'd have him a little higher than that.
Probably. But yeah, I mean, so what are you asking me if I think Luke Fickell is
let's do our personal top 10s out of this.
Okay.
I guess, or at least do our personal top until we get to Luke Fickell list.
Okay.
I think we'd all agree Saban is very easily number one.
Saban's number one. I would have. Oh, man, this is a tough one because I think he's slipping a little bit.
I would have Dabo 2.
I would have Dabo 2 as well.
What we learned, I don't know if he's slipping as much as what we learned this year is that if your anointed quarterback stinks, you're in danger of dropping some games.
But he's also been a very hardliner, old man screaming anti-transfer portal. So he finally has realized that, like, recruiting, and they've done a really good job recruiting, but, like, they're so ultra specific about it that when you do miss on a class, which they've kind of done recently, like, you have to get some transfers if your expectation is national championship.
Yeah.
But I would still have him second. I mean, he has won a title. They've been the premier team in the ACC. They've been to, almost every playoff. Like, would still have him second.
Third.
Ryan Day.
You think Ryan Day over Kirby?
Yes.
I think I would go Kirby third, but I don't think Day would be far behind him.
I mean, you could make an argument. I would put Kirby fourth. So it's like, it's semantics.
Right.
Really, like,
it's a tomato type deal. I haven't seen – I've seen Kirby Smart put pretty good offenses out there. Not great, but pretty good. I haven't seen great Ohio State defenses under Ryan Day yet.
I mean, they had pretty good defenses when they had the Boses.
That was right at the end of...
Yeah, Urban.
Yeah. 5.
Brian Kelly.
You go Brian Kelly all the way to 5?
Yeah, I mean, the guy's won literally everywhere.
Yeah.
He has won everywhere and big. Like, he's the winningest coach in Notre Dame history. He won how many national championships at Grand Valley State? He took UC to 2 BCS games. Like, the dude can fucking coach. I don't care what anybody thinks about him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, don't be
incredible.
Don't be so jaded that you can't recognize that, like, he's won everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so Saban, Dabo, Smart, and Ryan Day kind of in a tussle there for 3 and 4. You've got Brian Kelly at 5. I think I'd probably agree with that. And he is just an outstanding football coach in the truest sense of the word.
And that's what this is supposed to be, right? Like, like he's a great head football coach. Like,
right.
Sorry, like, I know,
6. Lincoln Riley. And I think this is where I get to fit because it's 7. Although I could listen to Jimbo at 7 and Luke at 8.
Jimbo has a national championship. Kyle Whittingham is kind of like, to me, like another one that's like being that good at Utah for that long, going from the Mountain West to the Pac-12, not getting your teeth kicked in, like becoming one of the premier programs in the Pac-12. Granted, you got some help from a UCLA and USC that didn't know what the hell they were doing, but like
right.
That one to me too is like, you're going to.
But if you watch them, they were legit, and we had to watch them a couple times.
They've been legit, like, and that's the thing is like they're doing it with. They're getting good players and they're getting good recruiting classes, but they're not like, you're not pulling elite talent there. They dog walked Oregon twice this year.
They did.
So I mean, I think I would probably have Jimbo Fisher next after Lincoln Riley. I mean, he has
So
a national
7 Jimbo Fisher.
7 Jimbo Fisher. And then I'm trying to think, is there anybody else that I just running down the list real quick? I mean, Kurt Ferentz is an outstanding coach, but I hate his style of play so much that I refuse to put him up that high.
Yeah.
His, allergicness to offense.
Do you think James Franklin's low at 24?
Yes, definitely. I mean, what he did at Vanderbilt, it does not even come close to getting enough conversation. Like they won 8 games 2 years in a row.
Right.
They
At Vanderbilt.
They haven't won 8 games there. I mean, I don't know what they've done recently, but like they had a stretch with Derek Mason and some other coach, Bobby Johnson or something, where they didn't win 8 games for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, 24 definitely. I mean, like having like David Shaw, I think is a great coach, but Stanford's dropped off. I don't know what the deal is there. Like James Franklin should be ahead of a lot of those guys in front of him.
How's Mel Tucker ahead of James Franklin? Come on.
That's absurd. Same thing with like Sam Pittman should not be ahead of James Franklin. David Shaw should not be ahead of James Franklin. Chip Kelly should not. Dave Aranda should not. Pat Fitzgerald should not. Like
Pittman's kind of trying to jump in the boat early on a guy that you think might, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
like he's made a significant splash at Arkansas. Quickly.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be a top 15-ish team to start the season. They got a great quarterback coming back. But yeah, so I mean, like if you got 7, see, then I get into like a 8, 9, 10. I would have like Luke. 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11 to me would be something of Luke, Whittingham, Mario Cristobal, and James Franklin.
Where's your Mike Gundy appreciation level?
Probably right behind that group.
Okay. I'd probably I think Aranda's going to be. He might not be there yet. I think he's going to end up in that.
He could be. I just don't know how.
Top 10.
He's been a head coach for 2 seasons, and one of them stunk.
Yeah.
So is this year?
I'm not saying I'm putting him up there now. I'm saying he's just a guy like going forward.
Right. Oh, for sure. Like you think he's that dude, but like he's had one good year and one bad year, so it can kind of go either way.
And guess what? We weren't doing after 2018, putting Luke Fickell in the top 10 of anything.
No. Just because he went 4-8 and then 11-3, like no one was like, oh yeah, he's definitely a top 10 coach. So you kind of have to let a little bit more play out. But yeah,
Here's
I think
interesting one for you.
Yes.
Mark Stoops.
Way too low at 37.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I think he's top 20 probably, right?
Yeah, I would say top 20. Like that's a really hard job. Just for sure top 20. I mean, look at some of these names ahead of him. Like Dave Doran hasn't done anything really that notable at NC State. Thomas Haddock, he's been a head coach for 2 years
at Northern Illinois.
Right, like Lance Leipold had a really good. Lance Leipold was really good at Buffalo, but like okay, Shane Beamer's been a head coach 1 year and he's 7 spots ahead of Mark Stoops.
Yeah.
Like Dave Clawson to me, like if we're just talking football coaches, like he's a top 20 easy. Maybe he's right up there. I would have him right up there and him and Paul Christ probably right up there in the range of that group right after, that 8 through 11-ish group.
What do you think of Narduzzi?
He's a
jag, just a guy.
He's a jag.
Just a guy.
Like, yeah, I can't make any argument that he should be any higher than that.
I know Mike Leach is quirky. How the hell do you have him at 41?
Yeah, that's just dumb.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
No.
All right. Well, I just thought that would be a fun little conversation to have. I think we're both in the same range. Luke somewhere 7 to 11. Like I
Yeah, I think I have him
8.
in that 8 to 11 range with like Cristobal, James Franklin, and Kyle Whittingham. Like no one's won a national championship. They've all, had
Luke has made the playoff. The
has
others
made
have
the
not.
playoff. The others have not. No, well,
Did get 9 guys drafted in one draft, all but one 3-star or lower.
yeah.
I think those are things that matter a little bit.
For sure.
So, like, I guess if I'm going right now, I'm putting Luke at 8. Like the other guys have to get to a playoff or match, the 3-year stretch that UC had for that mantle. I think they have to be behind Luke for now. But that's not to say they're not nipping on his heels or in like an equal class.
You won't get an argument from me on that.
Okay. All right. Well, what else you got? You got anything else you want to talk about tonight?
I don't know. No, I think that's pretty much it, I guess.
How about the chat? You guys got anything you want us to hit on before we get out of here this evening? What was your take on the Noah Potter edition as we do a timestamp? Brought to you by Urban Artifact. Urban Artifact. Did you know the Urban Artifact building, the historic St. Patrick Church, is 150 years old? They operate their tap room in the basement, and upstairs they often offer the reliquary and event space. Swing by Urban Artifacts, Northside Tap Room, and mention Bearcat Journal to get $2 off a flight of 4 tasters.
No Potter. I mean, you can't have enough defensive linemen, in my opinion. You got to have ways to get to the quarterback, affect the quarterback. Dude has had some serious tough injury luck. So there hasn't been, my whole, I don't want to be hypocritical. My whole thing has been with transfers has been about production. But I'm also not going to scoff at a traits guy that we've never had on the defensive line.
6'5.5", 277 pounds with some athleticism and explosion.
Like that's just not we've had 6'2", 275, 6'1",
Right.
275.
Right.
But
6'5.5", almost 6'6", 275.
We've not had your, prototypical strong side defensive end.
Well, and here's the thing, right? When we walk into higher ground, we're going to say, oh, right?
For sure.
Like, that's just the reality of how big this guy is. As we're going to look at him and go, that's an impressive looking dude on this roster.
Right. And I guess the other thing, too, is like, his lack of production isn't because he's gotten a lot of reps and hasn't produced.
Right.
So
it's that he hasn't gotten a lot of reps because, one, there's been NFL guys ahead of him, and two, he's dealt with injuries. Yeah.
So, you hope that he can stay healthy and use all those abilities and traits and everything and get some production because they don't really, I don't know if I guess I wouldn't really say he's like a speed guy. He kind of fits a little bit more of what they currently have, but just in a different frame.
Package, right. He's probably a 5-tech, 3-down defensive end or a 3-tech, 4-down, like inside guy, right?
He can play outside in the 4-man front.
I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying are you putting him outside in a 4-man front over Jabari and Malik? I don't know. Or maybe Jabari goes inside.
You'd probably Yeah, I would move one of those guys inside.
Yeah. But that's just the question. Like, if they are in a 4-man front, where is he at? And does he give you the best?
I think he's strong side over the tight end.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
The other question, I guess, just in general, I don't think it's likely we see another transfer. I think it's possible.
Always possible.
It's always possible. But I think the main thing they're looking for, as we've talked about, I just don't know how many are in the portal, and that's a shutdown corner.
Yeah, most of
And
those dudes
if they are in the portal, good luck getting them.
Most of those dudes are like Eli Ricks, and he's already
Right.
committed to going to Alabama from
Right.
LSU. I mean,
Right.
like Seven, the kid from Ohio State's not even any good, and he went like Seven Woods isn't even good,
Right.
and he went somewhere like so
Above his talent level.
right.
What's your overall take of the haul of transfers from Ivan Pace, D'Artagnan Tinsley, Nick Mardner, Corey Kiner? Now you've got Noah Potts. Like,
You really struggle with his name.
Noah Potter.
You called him Micah Potter like 3 times.
I called him his brother. Well, somebody put his brother's name in the chat, and I couldn't get his brother's name out of my head. Noah
and
Potter.
Now you're calling him Potts.
Potts. Yeah, Noah Potter. I think they've crushed.
I mean, I think it's really good because you're filling. This is a byproduct of the seasons that they've put together and the draft. You're not just filling needs; you're filling needs with guys that you feel can actually impact your team.
Right.
Like it's one thing to go, we need a defensive end, and you just go get a defensive end. Like, it's another thing to identify needs and be able to target specific guys because their talent level and what you project them to be dictates that they would be value adds. And I think that's what these guys are. And they all fill very, very specific roles too, which is important on a good team. Like, you don't necessarily need like the very best wide receiver, but like this wide receiver group, they identified we need a big receiver.
Right. You can be specific.
Right. Because we'll just keep it in the city. Like, the Bengals were very, very specific in free agency in the draft because they have an overall good roster. Like, so same thing with UC. Like, you're not just filling gaps. You're getting guys that you feel can contribute and fill a need, but that if they didn't fit what you wanted to do, you wouldn't just be taking a wide receiver. You wouldn't be taking a running back. Like, that's the reason you're taking these specific players.
Right. It's amazing what happens when you build things right. You have an opportunity to approach things like the transfer portal, which is free agency.
Yeah.
And do what you said. Like, you're looking for traits. You're looking for specifics. You're not just throwing it against the wall and saying, we need 3 wide receivers. We better go get 3 wide receivers or else our room is going to be decimated.
Well, yeah, just use Noah Potter as the example. Like, did they absolutely have to add a defensive lineman? Probably not. But, like, they wanted a specific type of defensive lineman. They weren't going to add another defensive lineman that was similar to Malik.
Right. 6'3", 280 pounds.
Like, yeah, right. I mean, and so if that person did not present themselves, they wouldn't have added another defensive lineman.
Right. Since Dave isn't going to Provo, what are your top 3 Big 12 basketball and or football away trip stadiums? Number 1 is easy, right? Kansas for basketball.
Kansas basketball, yes.
That's number 1, and it's not particularly close.
No, not at all.
I mean, Oklahoma State's football stadium's supposed to be pretty fantastic, right?
Yeah, I want to go there. I mean, number 2 for me is West Virginia.
Okay.
Just to get back there. Like I have a blast every time I've gone there. Like of the new teams, like Oklahoma State, Baylor, TCU. I mean, they're all kind of none of them outside of Kansas basketball. There's not like a holy shit.
Right.
I have to be there the very, very first time. And Grant, we probably
like the first time UC plays Kansas, I will be there. I'm making that drive.
That's something that you do everything you can to get to.
Right. And because I can get a media pass, like I don't have to worry about tickets.
None of the other ones are like I'm waiting in bated breath to see what weekend that comes out because my calendar is totally revolved around that trip. But that
Iowa State
it doesn't mean I'm not excited to go to them, but like it's definitely more on the football side. Like
I don't know. I think the basketball side might have the better like Gallagher Iba is supposed to be a really nice place.
Oh yeah, I mean that has the more of the like broad spectrum, like going to Oklahoma State, going to Baylor, going to Kansas State, Iowa State, like they would all be, I mean, you could easily get a ticket at Houston or UCF. That wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
BYU would be BYU would probably be second behind Kansas as far as basketball. I mean, the Marriott Center is like 25,000 people. Like it's packed.
They play. Is it the Jazz? They play in the Jazz Arena?
No, I think they have their own.
25,000 seats.
Oh, it's like I might be exaggerating that element of it, but like I'm pretty sure they have their own place. That's
okay.
It's pretty awesome.
Fair. Good question. No, Paul. Ryan Royer is not on the roster. Coming back for another year.
The J. Willard Marriott Center seats 22,700. And then I see another one. And then I see another one down here that says 19,000, but still, it's pretty damn big for college.
Yeah, maybe 19,000, like 22,000 if they're using the floor as seating for like a concert or something. Like if the hottest Christian rock band.
Oh wait, now it says I'm obviously going off of Wikipedia, but
seating capacity for basketball is 18,987.
Yes, it's been lowered. It was from 1971 to 2012. It was 22,700. Then it was 20,951, and since 2015, it's right around 19,000.
So they've obviously done updates, which have included probably premium seating,
right?
Has lowered the number.
Right. But yeah, I mean 19,000. Big. Yeah, they pack it, and because they've been. I mean, they're a perennial NCAA tournament team. So
yeah. No, I don't know why Royer's still on there. He's not coming back for another year. He has a full-time job that he's moved on to, and we're actually going to have him on here soon. We've been trying. We were going to have him on during the draft show. And just didn't have a chance. I'd love to get him on one Friday if we could, one Friday afternoon for like a happy hour, because I think he'd be a blast. Be a little something different. To watch the Mountaineers and Bearcats play is something I was born into. Dave wasn't born into it, but it is family for him, right?
Yes, my brother went there, so. I went to the first ever game that they sold beer against LSU.
Oh, God. How was that?
They ran out in the second quarter, I want to say, or third quarter.
That's great.
That was when they had Tyrann Mathieu and all those dudes. It was a fun game. And then obviously been to a couple Bearcat Mountaineer football and basketball games. Got quite a little thunderstorm going on right now.
I know. That's why I had to have you and Aaron talk a few minutes ago. It was rolling through northern Kentucky, and the big dog does not thunderstorm well. The little one doesn't care. The little one's like, whatever. I'm trying to take a nap here. The big one shakes and curls up into a ball and thinks the world's coming to an end. So
yeah, I don't know where the cats are hiding. So.
Stranger things have happened, Paul. Yeah, I'd love to have Royer back. I love Ryan Royer. You guys know that. But I actually had I ran into Kope Gorodsky out at dinner with Kelly one night. Looked, we were sitting at the bar having dinner, and he was waiting for a table, I think, with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's family. And I saw him, and I was like, "Is that?" And then he looked over, and I'm like, "What's up?" He came over and talked for a few minutes.
Celebrities.
Yeah, celebrities. His girlfriend's parents were obviously impressed that somebody at the
restaurant recognized him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How could you not be?
Right. I mean, when they left, they definitely said, "Honey, you really need to marry this young man."
Well, the mom was like, "Is that Chad Brendel?" I said,
I listened to his podcast.
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. You know how awkward that is, having wives and female fans come up. Like, I listen to your podcast all the time, and I'm like, "Oh boy, I'm sorry."
You listen to it, or you're forced to listen to it when you ride in the car with your husband or boyfriend.
It's usually that, but there are a couple that no, I make him listen to it, and I'm like, huh,
yeah. Maybe you should get it. Maybe you should get a new model.
Oh,
yeah. So
right. I don't really have much else. Do you?
I don't think so. Or we're still in that. Guess what? Not even next week. No, not even next week. Next week we'll have a guest.
Yes.
Hopefully that's been worked out, but you never know. And then the week after we will talk probably a lot of recruiting. And then camp season starts, and we'll have another recruiting weekend after that, and then
I go on vacation.
Then season preview stuff starts to matriculate out. So
we're getting there. We're 2.5 months from the start of camp.
I did. We're 100. What did I tweet today? 103 days until the Arkansas game.
Yeah, we're right there.
But Stuart Mandel did put out like a post spring practice top 25. He had UC at 23, I believe.
I think it's fair.
He had Houston, I believe, at 19, Arkansas at 16.
And that's kind of what I've said. But right now, I'd have Houston a slight tick ahead of Cincinnati just because.
Were you? I found this out very recently, this week, I think. Did you know Alton McCaskill tore his ACL in spring practice?
Yeah,
I did not
hear that. Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. That hurts because that was their bell cow. But I still just think you return a quarterback with that much experience, you get a slight advantage. All things considered.
You also return what should be this year the best
your defense.
The best offensive player in the conference.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Dell.
Yeah. So
you have a very veteran quarterback and the best receiver / offensive player in the league, and
a solid defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've got some stuff that they have to replace on the defensive line.
They do,
but
it's not like they're decimated and having to completely start over defensively.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to win the league, this is the year.
For sure.
Literally.
I'd have them. I mean, that's where if they're 19 and Cincinnati's 23, I agree with that assessment. I think that's.
I honestly I have no problem wherever UC is in any preseason.
I don't either.
Because if you don't want to have in the top 25, I'm not really going to argue that. The amount of talent they're replacing, it leaves a lot of questions to be answered that most people would say I just need to see. We might think that there's great people to step into those roles, but we don't 100% know that. We're not. I can't say that I'm uber confident that with either quarterback that they're just not going to miss a beat.
Right.
So if you don't have them in the top 25, I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah, like I'm not going to be offended by or up in arms. Like I don't have Cincinnati in my top 5 or top 25.
Realistically, like
Okay.
you have a team coming off of the playoff that had 9 guys drafted, plus whatever other losses. I think it would be totally acceptable to think that that is not a top 25 team the next year.
Right. More than fair. More than fair.
Without like an influx of like,
high
end transfers.
flashy transfers.
Right. Yeah.
The point I was making is if Houston's 19, I have no problem with Cincinnati 23. Because I think Houston is a slight tick better than Cincinnati, but I don't think it's a significant tick. Right?
Yeah.
See where I'm coming from?
I would still have UC ahead of them, but that's just me. I don't think any of these teams are tough enough to beat them, but whatever.
I mean, that's fine. I don't have a major problem with that stance either.
Right.
I just err on the side of the team that's got a quarterback that's been there for 12 years.
Yeah, because we
played against Brian Kelly.
He's the same as Des Ritter.
He's Des Ritter. He's Houston's Des Ritter. He's just Des Ritter's not in his way anymore.
I have no idea what Jeffrey's talking about that I already have it all scheduled. What do I have scheduled?
You were talking about
the next several weeks.
Yeah, how things are going to play out over the next 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paul's wife listens during football season as they're driving down from Chicago. We appreciate that, Paul, and thank her as I have done.
I've met Paul and his wonderful wife. They typically sit right at the top of my section.
Outstanding. Love me some Paul Brinker.
I'm just hopeful to have a reason to bring 5 to 6 confetti cannons to every game again this year.
Right? I mean, I think you'll be okay. I think there'll be plenty of touchdowns scored by this offense.
Yeah, I do as well. But hey, you never know.
All right, well, that's going to do it.
Oh, we do. I do want to touch on one basketball thing.
Okay.
So I will not begrudge you and Aaron for this because I know that neither one of you are big country music fans.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone who listens to country music, and especially Garth Brooks, would have known immediately looking at that picture that was Garth Brooks. I did not take me.
I've had people that listen to country say that they looked at that picture and had no clue it was Garth Brooks.
No, oh my God! See, that to me is just stunning. Instantly, I knew that was Garth Brooks in less than 1 second. I knew it was Garth Brooks as much as I knew that was DeMar Johnson.
I loathe and detest.
Or Chris, whoever it was, Lepore, yeah.
I loathe and detest country music, so that's just me.
Well, you should go to some of the country music shows that I go to. I think you would have a wonderful time.
I'm good.
Because it's not really radio country music.
Oh, it's all terrible.
So you're wrong, my friend. But yeah, that was strangely obvious. To me, at least.
Okay, that's fine.
And
and they're probably much more casual country fans.
Yeah, I mean, if I've been to Garth, I've listened to Garth for a long, long time. If you don't truly follow it, you think of Garth from the 90s, and don't when music videos were big and all that stuff, and you don't see him as the person that's aged and what he looks like with the way he looks now.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, it was Garth is a good time. That dude, I don't know how he does it. 60 years old and just goes
It's because they play.
He is quite a showman.
It's because they go play. What was it called here? Winner loser.
Play basketball every day on the road to keep yourself in shape that's the other part that's even crazier is not only is he 60, he hoops every day and then goes and puts on a 2.5 hour show where he's running around the stage the whole time.
We versus they.
Yeah, we versus they. It's we versus they every day. That's why he's able to put on the type of show that he does, Aaron. Dave.
Yes.
Yes. All right. That was fun. Like that was a fun couple days of weekend content, though. That's
it's
like
hilarious.
if I could
It's
script
hilarious
weekend
to me.
content.
As a fan, it's hilarious to me that like dude shows up to hoop and people are like, "Who the hell? Yeah, I don't know who that is." Like,
Brady. I don't know what they were running. I'll ask him. Maybe we'll ask him next time he's on the bounce. Yeah. Shimon Mateer, almost 18 miles an hour running up a hill.
that seemed. I mean, like what? 19, 20 miles an hour, 21 miles an hour is like a four in the 4.3s. So that's. I'm not sure I'm buying. Like that's a hard sell.
Well, I mean, they have the.
I know, but like
the monitors on. They're not making it up.
No, I know. It's just. Yeah, Script Keeper it was, and I believe it was only one of the handful of times that Garth has ever worn.
We talked one of 7 times he has worn
a uniform.
Yeah.
In a concert.
Yes. Now remember, Dave, that also could be 20 yards at that speed.
Sure. Could be 5
It's
yards.
not necessarily or 5 yards at that speed, right? Like it's not necessarily like this is how long they were running for an extended period of time. It is the top speed they hit while they were running.
Right. I mean, for one guy, it could be at the 12-yard mark, and another guy, they could be like a long speed guy, and it's at the end, towards the end.
Right. Up a hill, I'm guessing probably more towards the beginning or the middle.
Yeah. Before you're, too tired.
Yes. All right. You have a wonderful night, my friend. I will see you next week. Hopefully some more crazy shit happens in college sports, and we'll talk about it.
That'd be good.
He's Dave Simone. I'm Chad Brendel. Thank you, Aaron Smith, as always, the man behind the curtain. We'll see you next time. It's the Holy Grail BCJ podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com.